Markets and Global Business Development of ACT. Before joining ACT, Mr. Zibel led the development of a suite of non-cognitive assessments for middle and high school students as the Vice President of Corporate Development for ProExam. Mr. Zibel is a graduate of the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa and of Kellogg Management Institute of Northwestern University in Chicago. Since then, he has had more than 25 years of experience as a product and market strategist in education and educational assessment. Currently, he is responsible for the strategy and fiscal performance of ACT's worldwide network of business development managers, in-country partners, and all strategic partnership. He also leads ACT's partnerships with global NGOs such as the U.S. Department of State, the International Association for College Admission Counseling, and the International Youth Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Simi Zibel.
Hello everybody. Am I the last act before lunch?
Yes.
All right. So I won't keep you too long. But the first thing is, how many people want to move to Batam? That's right. So if there's somebody over here from the resettlement and recruitment community in Batam, that was a fantastic advertisement for what is going on over there. And in a very small way, ACT has played a role in Batam in trying to be part of that change that created the energy for the workforce development that ultimately results in this kind of thing. You know, workforce development is very complicated, right? It's a global community, it's competitive, it takes so many people and agencies to push this very, very heavy rock up a very, very steep mountain. It takes a lot of shoulders in order to do it. And ACT, partnering with SFR, exclusive partner in the Philippines, is proud to be here to make a modest contribution. I've just been so impressed with everything that you've done over here. The sophistication of the presentations, of the strategy, it's world class. And I think that you should be proud of your leadership in government, proud of the leadership in academia, and proud of the leadership in the economic sector that is really making the Philippines a world-class, has a world-class strategy. And what I'm going to try and do is not talk about what that strategy should be. I think you've got it. I want to speak a little bit about how you actually, what we've found is sort of takes the strategy down to the level of implementation. Like, how do you actually make this work? Because the strategy is all there. I mean, it's really very well articulated. So my clicker, I think that usually you have a clicker. So I think that the clicker is going to be virtual. I think I sort of click like this. When you see me do this, then I think you move to the next slide. Oh, you see it worked. So just a quick history about ACT. Here you can see two pictures over here. We are 60 years old. We've just celebrated the 60th anniversary. This is amazing. On the left over there, you can see the very first, you can see by the car, the very first testing center, and on the right over there, our campus today. It was founded in Iowa, in the middle of the United States. Something like, wasn't Manila like New York? It was sort of like Batam, a small place that had big aspirations. We're a not-for-profit. That's important. That doesn't mean to say that we don't charge for our services. but it means that we don't have shareholders. So we like a foundation, and everything that we make and we sell goes back into the organization. We work in 50 states, 130 countries, and the thing that ACT is most well known for is its college entrance exam, and about half of the people in the US take that. That's its biggest. We do about 15 million tests a year around the world, and we have the National Career Readiness Certificate I'm going to talk more about. So, let's move on. I think that there are two challenges. The first challenge is a global challenge. And that says over there, everywhere I go, and I travel literally everywhere as the head of the International for ACT, you can move that on, is everywhere people are speaking about can you advance? Thank you. About global worker shortages. That doesn't mean that there are not enough workers. It means that there are not enough workers with the skills that the employers want. That is the global worker shortage. We know unemployment, something I think you said this morning, 5%, right? But growth is determined by having a skilled workforce. That is a global issue. And if you advance the slide and have a look over here, I found these labor statistics from OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And it looks over here about the labor statistics in the Philippines. You can see that it's skewed towards at the bottom, sort of lower paying service jobs. And at the top is where are the higher paying, higher skilled jobs. And that's what your national strategy is trying to change. By the way, OECD as well, you can move that on. OECD as well also does the PISA assessment. And people spoke about the PISA assessment this morning when we compare 15-year-olds around the world. ACT, just for what it's worth, a lot of people spoke about, mentioned creative thinking. It was in like 3 of the presentations, mentioned creative thinking. So in PISA, what they measure is, across the world at the rankings, is math, science, and reading, right? That's what PISA does. What people don't know is that every 3 years we measure one extra innovative domain. And in PISA 2021, we are measuring creative thinking. So imagine that, that's the beauty of ACT. Imagine that, trying to create a global assessment of creative thinking. And the world tender to do that was won by ACT. We are doing the PISA 2021 creative thinking, and I actually have the privilege to represent ACT on the PISA governing board for that. So that's just as a little kind of aside. And I'll tell you why that's relevant as we move ahead. So I want to say that ACT, when we come to workforce, we spoke about 3 things are necessary. You need foundational skills. That's fine, you can go ahead. Foundational skills, which we call applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents. And then over there it mentions that through assessing all of these, we have almost 5 million today, actually people who have a career readiness certificate. And I'm going to explain to you what this means. And they're at 4 different levels and have a curriculum behind them. The second part is, if you just move ahead. The second piece is, so those are the foundational skills. The next thing that we have assessments and learning programs for are information technology, engineering, business, and vocation. And it's fascinating. I want to just tell you a little anecdote over here. 400 years ago, in order to do long division, you had to be a mathematician. Like, not the regular people couldn't do that, couldn't do long division. And today, if you walk into a factory and you're looking for an interview, I'm talking over here about business and about information technology. If you want to operate a machine and you don't know how to read a report out of Tableau, which is the most sophisticated data representation, then you won't get the job. You just won't get the job. If you're a truck driver and you can't navigate Tableau in order to understand what the flow is, what the supply chain is, and where you fit into the supply chain, you can't do that kind of a job. So the upskilling of the workforce into these domains is both what has to be done and what has to be measured. The third one and the last one is, I want to speak about measuring, we call essential skills. Some people call them soft skills. And go right ahead over there to the next one. So when you're talking about, this is what is so amazing. We talk about technical skills. But if you want to get a job at Facebook, which is one of the most sophisticated technology companies in the world, and you want to write software, you are on probation for 3 months. Why? Anybody's got an idea? Is it to see how good the code is that you can write? Everybody can write the code. Everybody. They're all brilliant. They all got degrees. But not everybody can work with other people. Not everybody can collaborate. And if you can't work in you won't get a job. You won't get a job at Facebook. You won't get a job at Google. Those are just the big brand names. So everybody says today, if you look at ONET, which is the classification, the US classification of every single job, the top 3 of the top 10 requirements across over 3,000 professions are work ethic, integrity, and collaboration. And everybody says, well, those are soft skills, but those are not. Those are the hard skills and those are the essential ones. And ACT made the commitment to get together the most sophisticated scientists to try and measure them. And this is one of the assessments that we're going to be rolling out now with SFI, with data behind them on how you can actually predict how people are going to be in collaboration, integrity, leadership, and so on. Because everybody knows, takes the technical skills for granted. These are the differentiators. So, when you put all of those together, we offer something called the Career Readiness Certificate. That's what we did in Baton, a Philippine version of that. And when you have a look over here, and it says we grade it at 4 different levels. And then here's when we now get to why you do all of it, right? Like, why do you create a career readiness certificate and what value can it bring to the community? So, this is the concept. So when you I spoke about how do you create tests and curriculum. And we've got 1,200 people in the company, and about 25%, that's about almost 300 people have PhDs. PhDs in advanced psychometrics and test and assessment development. So is all of that, that's all necessary, but it's not sufficient in order to be successful. And I think that the most dramatic invention that ACT actually made in the past 20 years was this concept of a work-ready community. What does it mean, and why are work-ready communities so important? This is really the center of what I want to speak about. So I heard hints about it in the Baton example, it's called Daniel Kahneman got the Nobel Prize in economics for the recency bias. So it's the thing you've just seen that you speak the most about. So we spoke about baton. I think everywhere is great. But the most important thing in order to implement the program is to create a community of interest between those people and those entities that want to make this happen. And you can't take this for granted. It is difficult. It is difficult. It's not obvious. But if you can get educational institutions, the local businesses, the workforce boards, the state agencies, which were like represented today, like DOLE and the other organizations over here, and individuals with funding behind them, in order to create a work-ready community. And this is not just a statement. ACT has a certification process by which we invest in and work with communities at a very local level to create work-ready communities. Yeah, go to the next one. So, in a work-ready community, I think I spoke about this, there are employers. What are their benefits to the employers? Well, improved retention. This is the biggest thing, right? In call centers, what's the biggest problem in call centers? They're what over here? What's the biggest problem? Is turnover. How can you improve retention? That's worth money. For educators, creating career pathways, just picking out a few of them over here. Poverty reduction, a lot of people spoke about today, business retention and expansion. The worst thing is, when a community gets going and then it starts losing businesses, right? That's what you see in the Rust, it's called the Rust Belt in the US. When you start losing and then once flourishing cities 30, 40 years ago become ghost towns. And lastly, for individuals and families. So how do all of these work together? Let's give you a few examples. Oh, that's nice. So in work-ready communities, what we do is we take job tasks and analyze them and then assess them with workies, and then we look towards how we can close the skills gap in that community. And I'll actually give you an example from where I live, which is not far from Iowa, the greater Milwaukee area. So have you heard of Foxconn? The company have you heard of Foxconn? How many people?
Yes.
Okay, so Foxconn is the largest assembly of technology gadgets in the world. If you've got an iPhone, it was assembled by Foxconn. I think it's got about 400,000 workers. Their first factory in the US, they looked all over at the work-ready community in a town called Racine, Wisconsin, came together and said, we have 3,000 people who have the ACT, National Career Readiness Certificate, and we have a work-ready community. And so they have, and with they said, Foxconn said, Terry Gao, who's the CEO, founder CEO, we can teach people how to make flat screen TVs, but we want to know that they've got the basic skills in order to get going. It's like it's worth investing in these people. And so Racine, Wisconsin, you've never heard of it, attracted the new Foxconn, the first Foxconn factory, to be put up, and it's $1 billion investment in the first 5 years. That's what a work-ready community can do for you. So, just why don't you advance? There you go, the cogs are turning. The state of Missouri is a great example of this. They have, from the governor down, have created, and again, what I wanted to say is, this is not at the state level. I think there are in Missouri over 100 work-ready communities. All of them get supported by the states, all of them get trained by ACT. So it's a concept, about how you get a community to work together. And if there's one thing that the Philippines is just fantastic at, it's in human capital and community, a strong sense of family, a very, very strong sense of community. One of the slides earlier this morning said, right, where do people want to live? 87% want to live here. 80, the higher, I think it is like 75%. 87% of the people in one of the slides, they want to live close to where they come from. That's a very high sense of community. I don't know the statistics in the States. I'm going to look them up. I bet you it's 1/3 of that. It's probably even less than that. So this concept of creating a work-ready community, I just think is in the DNA of the people of the Philippines. You've just got to get organized around doing it. That's how it drives. And in Missouri is one of the places that they've done it very well. All of these over here are organizations. You can see big brands. Eastman, Boeing, of course, is most famous. Everywhere that Boeing hires, they are part of the work-ready community. That would be in Washington State, it would be in Oregon, it would be in Illinois, and they're big contributors to that being the engine of a work-ready community. Move on. All of the shows over here, if you think of the graph from OECD before about the Philippines as to where most people are, right? Too many jobs, we know, too many jobs are. It's important to have high employment, but you want to move those jobs up the skill gap. That's really the national challenge. And of course you're aware of it, because when you do that, you improve standards of living, you navigate jobs and training, you boost confidence and achieve goals. And I think at least more than one person this morning spoke about eradicating poverty. I mean, these are noble goals. These can be implemented by policy. But down on the ground, we think that when all is said and done, if you can implement that down at the community level, it's going to happen. There's an example over here. I won't dwell on it, but if you've heard of Eastman, they used to be called Eastman Kodak. Well, they used to be called Kodak, then there was Eastman, then they became Eastman Kodak. Now the company's called Eastman. So this is a company with 14,000 employees in Tennessee. And their hiring Bible is based around the National Career Readiness Certificate, and they're working with the work ready community in their part of Tennessee. This is big. So all of the states in the US, all of the states that are in the dark blue, all of them have a very advanced work-ready community or organization. And there you can see since I started, the earlier slide said 4.5 million. So while we've been advancing the slides, it's already gone up to 4.5 million. Isn't that amazing? What we're here to do today is offer our hand in friendship and our minds in expertise in order to work with the policymakers and the organizations in order to launch work-ready community initiatives for the Philippines. You have the sophistication, you've got the policy, you've got the strategy, we've got some expertise in the domain. And as a global not-for-profit organization, it's part of our mission to reach out and share it for the local context. You'll figure out how to implement it with nuances that are appropriate for what you're trying to do over here. What we want to do is offer the pathway, maybe just accelerate this a little bit. So you don't go back, to the very beginning. Maybe just accelerate this, like you've done, by the way, in everything else. I mean, everything else that you're doing means on the shoulders of global experts. That's why you even commission an OECD report. So we are some of those shoulders on which you can climb as you begin this initiative for work-ready communities. Don't know who that guy is, but I recognize them. This was here last year as we made a big launch of our partnership with SFI, and you can see the progress. To go from, we were in this same venue last year, but in a smaller room, or it was a more narrow focus, right? As we just kind of game. This year, we're in this amazing venue over here, and I think that if the momentum continues, you should hire Lloyd, you should hire the convention center for next year. So, this one's interesting. Oh, this is the video? Okay, good. So why don't we've got a short video over here, and then I'll just wrap up with one little slide.
As a workforce professional,